Black folk been doing this kind of work for a long time. What did you think black folk had to do during slavery and segregation, dealing with these hateful white folks? They had to figure out how to not yeah but them and get whipped or excluded or punished in other ways and be more subtle. They had to figure out how to be a spy, how to not take it so personally and not think that this moment is the last moment. They're playing the long game. That's what we are inviting white folks to do. In Compassion, Transforms Contempt, I have 5 or 6 essays that basically are about cultural wisdom that I think black folks have accumulated that I think white folks need to think about. One of them is to be a spy. Part of what you want to think about is, what is your goal? If you look at your aunt who said that crazy thing as somebody who was embarrassing you, you're embarrassed because you can't believe your aunt, somebody connected to you, is being so racist. If you focus on that, you might want to shut her down and get mad because she's not being who you thought she was. She's not living up to what you thought was your family legacy. But if you turn it around, first of all, prepare yourself in advance and think, okay, my work is to transform her. That's my work. So with that attitude of I have agency, I'm not just a recipient, I'm not being acted upon, I'm acting in the situation. So on some level, it's a kind of a shift of intentionality. On some level, it's a spiritual shift. But then also there's techniques even that. Like one of the things that people have said is useful is to try to think of the people differently. So your aunt says something crazy, or let's say it's your cousin, somebody the same age, you probably remember when they were a cute 5-year-old. Think about that. Even just deciding to think about this person who is being a jerk now wasn't always like this. That can be helpful. Thinking about a moment of connectivity that you had, a moment of actual enjoyment you had, to remind yourself this person is not just a racially problematic person. But part of what we have discovered is valuable is people getting ready for these conversations. We want people to be planful. So, and we think by being planful, you can be more effective when the moment happens. A whole bunch of people in the workshops, they go to Thanksgiving or the family gathering, whatever, they know their uncle is going to say something crazy because he always does. But if armed with some strategies, with some technique that they have actually done a little bit of work on in role plays with the people in their group or even in the mirror, they're in a much better position to nod, calm down, maybe go to the bathroom, get a drink and calm down, and come back and ask a question and get your uncle off his soapbox and into telling you a story about why some story that happened a long time ago that makes him think that black people are lazy, but you have him tell you a story. Now you got to be willing to hear the story and not tell him this story is wrong. But again, you have a strategy. You have a strategy that's grounded in science. So it can be some work, but I would invite you to consider is black folk been doing this kind of work for a long time. What did you think black folk had to do during slavery and segregation, dealing with these hateful white folks? They had to figure out how to not yeah but them and get whipped or excluded or punished in other ways and be more subtle. They had to figure out how to be a spy, how to not take it so personally and not think that this moment is the last moment. They're playing the long game. That's what we are inviting white folks to do. In Compassion, Transforms Contempt, I have 5 or 6 essays that basically are about cultural wisdom that I think black folks have accumulated that I think white folks need to think about. One of them is to be a spy, is to take the attitude of being a spy. So there's a precedent for your getting on top of these feelings. I personally think that there's something beautiful about having the perspective that I'm entitled to my reactions all the time. Well, the fact of the matter is, black people have had to learn they're not always entitled to their reactions. What do you think the talk is about? Like the talk that black parents give to their their teenage kids, about dealing with the police, and about how when the police come at you, you need to be calm. It's gonna be injustice. You need to figure out a way to not lash out at the injustice in order to survive the situation. That is all about going to a place of saying, I am not completely controlled by the evil or injustice of somebody else. I can still make strategic choices. So there's something nice about not learning that, because you get to feel that like you are entitled to your reaction. But people of color, certainly black folks, have had to learn you're not always entitled to your reaction. You got to go to a deeper place of intentionality. What am I trying to get out of this? And what kind of actions are going to be helpful to do that? So some of that is a shift, is just a psychological shift. Now, white folks didn't necessarily learn that, although, interestingly, I find that the one place that white folks know that is in court. So if there's an unjust verdict, it's not like white people act out all the time. So they know in court, they know they got to control yourself. But as a general matter, white folks don't have it deeply ingrained that they're not entitled to a reaction. And so what we're asking you to do is to leverage this wisdom that comes out of oppression in order to fight the oppression that still exists.